Who is the Nevermore Raven? The Nevermore Raven is a character from Overwatch that has not been canon. His name is Nathan. He was born in the year 2000. He was bullied in school a lot of times in his life. He was alone. He wished he could have had more friends because he always sat at the cafeteria by himself. He tried telling the teachers that he was getting harassed by other students and sought help, but the teachers didn't bother listening to him as they were occupied with their work and told him that he shouldn't hang around with those people then, and that's all they said to him. One of these days, Nathan would once again sit down by himself at the cafeteria, but then a person came up and knocked over his food, and his clothes became messy. After that, Nathan got out of his seat and pushed him down, and then he went to the bathroom to clean himself. The person he just pushed down came into the bathroom with him, but he had a group of others with himself. Nathan tries to ease with them, trying not to cause trouble, but they push him to the back of the wall. Then out of an impulse, Nathan tries to charge at them to hit the exit. The group of them stop him in his path and slam him to the ground, starting to kick him everywhere. Nathan covers his arms so he protects his face. Then a teacher shouts at all of them, telling them to get off him. Nathan looked up in the crowd, and it was a JROTC instructor. He grabs Nathan's hand and escorts him out safely and takes him to the nurse. Nathan asked for his name. He was named Bobby. He was a lieutenant colonel, and the two of them became very close, and Bobby was the only friend Nathan ever had in school. He didn't know what a friend was truly like until he met him. The next year, Nathan attended JROTC in his sophomore year in school. In this course, he learned all about how students should be a better citizen of character, and the motto was, "I will not lie, cheat, nor steal, nor tolerate anyone among us who does. Integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do." He was loyal to the code and loyal to his friend. Through this class, Nathan overcame being depressed, and he was more motivated because of having a friend. Due to the bullies, he would attend martial arts classes. He would take Aikido and Judo classes for him to defend himself more. He learned how to preserve his energy in fights, also learned how to get out of chokeholds and fight people who were stronger than him. His sensei was patient with him as Nathan had trust issues about his adversities. But the sensei taught him always to remember that speed is the enemy as to whether you want to learn something new. Always don't rush in because that leads to failure. Through his advice, he learned how to compose his thoughts and self-control himself when conflict hit him. Nathan and Bobby kept in touch but became distant from each other due to being busier with the martial arts classes. There was a problem with a student who was doing drugs who was a part of the JROTC community, and it violated the code of conduct for which the class stood for. He was doing tobacco, and Bobby was the one who spotted him doing it. Bobby approached him and snatched his hand with disbelief on his face. The person he was looking at was one of his high-ranking cadets. Bobby was so upset that he started yelling at him for being a fake representation of the JROTC classroom. With his yell, Nathan could hear it all the way from the library. It startled him that there was a chant where everyone was screaming with excitement. With apprehension, Nathan ran out of the library to the cafeteria as fast as he could. He saw a whole group of people surrounding his friend Bobby, and then he moved through the crowd to get into the inner circle where his friend was. As soon as he caught up with his friend, Bobby was trying to subdue his cadet as he was throwing punches at him. Nathan jumps in to protect Bobby from the blows and uses his fighting techniques. His adrenaline rush was activated, and he could see everything through slow motion and use what he learned automatically on the cadet. It was all so smooth, and the moment the cadet took a jab at him, he didn't even feel any pain. He gripped his hand on the cadet's wrist the next time he threw a punch and then brought him into a leg sweep. He fell onto the ground, and then Nathan put his knee on his stomach to keep him from scrambling on the ground while grabbing his two arms from keeping him from punching. Nathan then punches him on the abdomen, which causes the cadet to roll on his belly because of the pain. He then puts him in a rear naked choke to make him lose oxygen through the brain. His face started to turn purple, and Bobby told Nathan to let go. Nathan let him go, but then the cadet turned back to punch him in the face and get knocked out. The punch caused him to be lightheaded, while other teachers approached the crowd and then came to Bobby, and he explained what happened. The teachers accused both Bobby and Nathan for why the fight started, and they found no proof of the tobacco because the cadet passed it on to his friends. Bobby was angry that the cadet was lying to him as he saw it right in front of his face. He asked for a drug test on the cadet, but he refuses as he cannot be forced under the Fourth Amendment. The teacher shushed Bobby and gave him a warning for this. Nathan was sent to in-school suspension. Bobby had to be suspended for 2 months from the school, and the cadet received no punishments for his actions. After Nathan stood up for Bobby, rumors started spreading around the whole entire school. They thought Nathan would turn into a school shooter due to recent events. Some even say that he has a severe mental disorder and it is causing him to go insane. Almost everyone at school didn't want to go by him because it was spreading. When this happened, the moment Nathan came home, he cried on his bed without telling his parents what was going on. He didn't want his parents getting involved with this, as he didn't want to transfer to a different school, as this was the only one that had a JROTC program. He ran outside when it was night and started punching himself in the face. He would keep running until he was in the woods, and it was pitch black. He dropped on the ground and laid there weeping. Because of his good deeds, he got into trouble just by trying to help his friend, but in the end suffered for it. He drowned in despair and didn't know what to do as he still laid there. There was no way for him to contact Bobby as he had no access to a phone. After 2 months, Bobby had finally returned, and it was the spring semester, when Bobby reunited with Nathan. Nathan was more silent and didn't interact with him as much as he used to. Though he was still loyal to Bobby, he still showed integrity and respect to one another, but he had a different personality. He wasn't always smiling, and most of the time he just had a neutral face. For the whole spring semester, Nathan continued JROTC as an AS2, learning the drill commands. He passed the drill test when it came, and Bobby was proud of him. He was invited to a community service military ball for his accomplishment, and he agreed to go. His father took him there, and when he arrived at the place, it looked like a sort of farm because the place was small, and the place had grass everywhere. Nathan entered inside and looked everywhere to find Bobby, but he was nowhere to be found. He was running late to the party when he overheard what the cadets were saying. Then he arrived a little late, and Nathan was happy to see him by giving him a handshake. After that, the announcer stepped up and told the members that they were going to be having a grog bowl. A grog bowl is a large bowl of traditional military drinks, and it's mixed with alcohol, juices, and other disgusting ingredients inside. Nathan was anxious if Bobby was going to be called up there, so he moved closer to the announcer. When he heard his name, he got up out of his seat without hesitation and moved to the spotlight of the stage to halt what Bobby was about to drink. Nathan comes to Bobby and says,
"Hey, my friend, you do not have to drink this. I can drink it for you,"
he says to Bobby, though Bobby insists saying that he deserved to drink it because of his arrival time, but he asked Nathan if he would like to drink with him, and Nathan accepts. Before they drank, they brought his son to join with them, and they all said, After Nathan did that, he wanted to speak to Bobby privately about everything that happened at school while he was gone. He told Bobby that rumors were spreading around. He was tired of being misunderstood and shouldn't have gone straight up to the cadet in the cafeteria because it made Nathan lose his friend. And he had to suffer more as he should have told someone. Bobby deeply apologizes after everything what he went through. And Nathan gave him a hug, just thankful he's back in his life. They spent the rest of the year 2018 as close friends and had fun while it lasted. Next year in 2019, Bobby had to tell Nathan that he was moving out of the state because the community staff was being verbally abusive towards him, and he also wanted to move closer to his family. Nathan understood, but since he had a phone now, he wanted to have his contact that way he doesn't lose him again. Bobby gives him his number and they chatted one more time in the office where they always talked with each other. Then the two of them went outside together and Nathan watched as Bobby entered his car waving to him a goodbye. Sadly, Bobby couldn't watch Nathan graduate from school, but Nathan was happy that he got to meet Bobby even though he wasn't there. Ever since the incident where Nathan stood up for Bobby for the grog bowl, Nathan would start helping random elderly people because he wanted to help people who needed it for the world. He helped them with their groceries, helped them get to their car, and he would help those at church. Nathan was now 23 years old, and he had become a lot closer to his beliefs. He made a lot of friends who were older than him mostly. He wanted to help others because of what he's been through in his life. Anytime Nathan thinks about helping others, he thinks about the time how others were unhelpful to him back in school. He didn't always want to be dwelling on his past and be negative in his life. He wanted to make a change to improve his life by helping others. The way he helps others is by giving someone a hand who can barely walk. He does this every Sunday after Mass at church to help the people in the handicap sections. At church when Mass ended, he saw someone the exact age as him, and she was a woman. Nathan came up to her and gave her a handshake and told her
It's a pleasure to meet you.
his name. She was named Lenore, and she was a new member of the church. The two of them casually enjoyed each other's company as they would make each other laugh and happy that Nathan got to meet a new friend. He also got to finish college and graduated with a bachelor's degree in IT, Network Systems Management. Nathan shared his hobbies with Lenore like skiing, playing basketball, and making art creatively. He would talk to her every Sunday as she would be there. Nathan then asked her if she would like to eat somewhere with her for breakfast. The two of them went to a place called Broken Egg Cafe. He ordered a buttermilk pancake with eggs and hash browns, and Lenore just wanted something casual. Lenore openly admits something to Nathan. She has a serious lung disease, which was asthma. When he heard this, he knew that he didn't want her being in prolonged feelings of anxiety and stress due to her disease. Besides that, Nathan had a great time with Lenore having breakfast together, and they built a closer bond with each other. He bought Lenore flowers just for her to be happy, and then he drew a picture of Lenore with himself in an artwork and gave it to her. She appreciated everything what Nathan would do for her and gave him a kiss on the cheek. Nathan blushed and gave Lenore a hug to wish her a good day. The next week, Nathan gave her a text message saying, "Can we go out for a cup of coffee?" He texted Lenore and she replied, "Yes, I am able to do that." Nathan opens the door for Lenore as she arrives, and he invites her up to a balcony to sit with him. Nathan nervously starts a conversation with Lenore about their first encounter with each other. He talked about how he always helps elders who need a hand and wanted to say that he would treat Lenore the same way as he did to those people. Nathan would tell Lenore to close her eyes and he would kneel on one knee. Then he would take a small jewelry box out of his pocket and open it up. He then told Lenore to open her eyes, and she was shocked. She was not expecting this to happen. Nathan wanted to live with Lenore as his wife, and Lenore accepted as he put the ring on her finger. The two of them got married to each other, and Nathan invited Bobby to the party, as with the rest of his friends. During his time, this was one of the most joyful moments he had in his life. That time passed by so fast that it had already been 3 hours. Everybody was leaving, and they thanked Nathan for the fun they also had. Nathan was on his bed seeing Lenore cuddled herself around him while still sleeping. He had received a notification from Bobby, who didn't show up to the party. It said, "Hey, my friend, I have some bad news to share with you." Nathan saw the text message sent by Bobby. He opened the app and replied, "I'm here anytime you need me, friend. Do you need help?" He texted back. Then he received a message back from him that disturbed him a lot. It said, "I have stage 4 cancer, and I only have 2 more days to live." He stared at the message for a long time. Nathan wanted to immediately know where Bobby was located at. Bobby shared his location through the app, and Nathan got dressed and wrote a note to Lenore saying that he'll be gone for a little while. While driving, Nathan was reminiscing about Bobby that started making him feel sad. The thoughts were how Bobby was there for Nathan during his hardships at school. He let himself get distracted that a car beeped in front of him, and he reacted quickly by steering the wheel to the right, avoiding a rear-end collision. He wasn't in any lane as his car wheels were sitting on the grass. It was hard for him to get back onto his lane due to the oncoming traffic, so he gave Bobby a call, telling him he might be late. When eventually back in his lane, there were cars beeping at him while on the phone with Bobby. Nathan would get irritated by this and start cursing inside his car due to the road rage drivers. After Bobby heard his anger in his voice, it made him distressed to hear him lose control of himself. Nathan tries to reassure Bobby, saying that he's trying his best to get there as fast as possible. He would go over the speed limit and was too impatient to be slowed behind. Nathan would keep informing his friend to check to see if he was still there. He kept telling him that he was trying his best to get there as fast as possible with a hurried voice. Bobby would tell Nathan, "Please just take your time, friend. There's no need to rush." Nathan told Bobby,
Bobby, I was there for you at the grog ball. I was there for you when your high-ranking cadet was fighting you. I am not going to let you die without me being there for you!
Nathan exclaimed to his friend. Finally making it to the hospital, he went to the front desk and wanted to know where Bobby was being treated. The receptionist told Nathan that he was on the upper floors of the hospital. Nathan ran to the elevator and took it to the 6th floor. He ran so fast to get to Bobby's room that he had many things to tell Bobby since it's been over 5 years. Before opening the door, he took a big deep breath and then entered. He saw Bobby there with his life support showing no signs of a heartbeat on the monitor. It was just beeping, and Nathan stood there looking at his friend. Then the medical providers came in and escorted Nathan out of the room and brought out a defibrillator to try to reset Bobby's heart. After the procedure, he asked if Bobby was alive, and they responded with their condolences. Before leaving the hospital, Nathan went inside his room where his family was gathering by him to make sure he wasn't alone. Nathan shed a tear for seeing that he wouldn't see his friend in a long time while he's still here on Earth. He said his goodbyes to his friend and then left the room with a disheartened face. After Bobby's death, he heard reports around the church that his elderly friends, who he helped at the handicap sections, have passed away. He then also heard that a person from his wedding died in a car accident a few days ago. He watched death pass by him as there were funeral masses each week and went to each one, just experiencing the grief of those he cared about. When he got home, he went to Lenore and just cried on her shoulders. It was devastating how Nathan lost so many people when he was still just a young man. Lenore was there for Nathan during his losses and helped him heal through it. She comforted him and told him to stay strong and that the lost ones were watching over Nathan in heaven. 7 months later, when the year 2026 hit, Nathan came home from work seeing Lenore lying on the couch. He went to check on her, and she told Nathan that she was doing fine.
Let me know if you need anything,
Nathan would say to her. While washing the dishes, he heard Lenore coughing constantly. Disregarding the dishes, he gave her some medicine to help with her throat. He then comforts Lenore by wrapping a blanket around her. She appreciated Nathan and then went asleep. The next day, Lenore had to stay home as she was still feeling sick while Nathan had to go to work. They kissed each other and Nathan drove to work. While at work, he kept trying to keep Lenore in check in his office. On his break, one of his workers called him up on the phone and said, "Hey, I got a little bored. Do you want to play a game of Uno with a group of us downstairs?" The person said. Nathan felt that just sounded like a lot of fun as he wanted to get away from the exhausting work he had to do. He had a fun time with the other people playing Uno and had beverages to keep the excitement. Nathan was a great Uno player because he knew a lot about math is why he was so good. Their fun cost them a good day and they went back to work. While at his office again, he saw that Lenore hadn't seen his message. It was odd because she usually checks on her messages and doesn't ignore him. So Nathan gives her a call and she doesn't pick up and it transfers to a voicemail. He tries doing it one more time and she picks up the phone and says to him, "Nathan, I'm feeling terrible and I need you to urgently come home. Something is wrong with me," Lenore says to Nathan in a breathless voice. Nathan dials 911 as soon as he drives back home. He parked the car in the driveway and rams through the door, seeing Lenore coughing up blood. She was having an asthma attack, and Nathan tried his best to conciliate her while she was panicking. She kept saying, "Help me," in a low tone where she needed to catch her breath. Suffocating for air, Nathan applied CPR on her and was doing it rapidly. The paramedics came through and gently pushed Nathan aside to help Lenore. They checked her heartbeat and her eyes to see if she was responsive. Nathan touched his heart, and it was hurting because he thought that it was his fault for not taking her sooner to see a doctor. He saw her face with blood coming out of her mouth like she was drooling, and Nathan looked away and retreated to the kitchen. He took out a photo book where he saw pictures of himself with his wife. Then the paramedics came in and told him that she didn't make it, and they were sorry for his loss. Nathan took a deep breath and said,
Thank you for trying your best,
he said in a pale tone. They offered him a water and he refused and just said,
Please just transfer her to the funeral home,
Nathan said to them. When they put his wife into a body bag, he didn't look at it. He didn't want to remember seeing the last thing about his wife like that. At the funeral, there were people from the church compensating Nathan by giving him money for his loss. There were people who made speeches about Nathan and Lenore's relationship with each other. Nathan had his head down the whole time while others felt sorrow for him. When everyone was leaving, he was the only one that stayed at the funeral. He went to go to Lenore's tombstone and told her,
"We will meet again someday. I'm glad I got to meet you in a season of my life."
Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door, only this, nothing more. Distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow. Sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with a fantastic terrors never felt before. So that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently, my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is, I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortals ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore?" This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore?" Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard the tapping, something louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Open here, I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mane of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. "Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou," I said, "art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast, upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such a name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on that pallid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Bobby, then the bird said, Nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore of nevermore. But the raven still beguiling all my sad soul into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking Nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er she shall press Nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate, yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aden it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom the angels name Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting, get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore, leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul has spoken, leave my loneliness unbroken, quit the bust above my door, take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. As the bird was still there, it kept only saying that one word, Nevermore. Nathan was stuck in the dark, trapped there. All he wanted was just to live a normal life with Lenore, just viewing what the future could have been like if she stayed here longer. He was all alone, and he didn't know where to go. He just kept hearing the word Nevermore as he was floating in darkness.
What did I do wrong? Somebody help me!
Nathan, take my hand, my son.
Who are you?
A bright figure of light came to Nathan and brought his hand out to reach him out of the darkness.
Thank you for being there for me. I was trapped in there all alone, and I'm glad you came for me.
There's something I wanted to show you, Nathan. Do you see the angels over there, Nathan?
Yes, Father, I do. Why are you showing me this stuff?
Those are all the people you have helped throughout your life. They are saints watching over you.
Can I join them?
You will forevermore be with them someday, but I need you down there again. The world is turning evil, and people are losing hope. You will live a longer lifespan than most. The reason why I'm doing this to you, Nathan, is because you have helped an atheist convert to being a Christian when you helped that man who was homeless that is watching over you today.
I don't want to be alone, God. I want to stay here with my friends.
I will accompany you, this Raven, to always be with you at your side, and I promise you that you will meet a friend who is loyal and compassionate like you. That will take you back to your friends. This Raven will be a symbol of the armor of God, protecting you from evil forces that may come your way if you ever start to doubt yourself again. People will fear you for what you will become, Nathan. But don't worry, I promise that you will not be alone. Those who misunderstand you are the ones who condemn themselves into deeper darkness for how judgmental they are. But if the world hates you, just remember, it hated me first, my son.
Father, I just want to be with you.
Let me remind you one more time, Nathan. If you do not return to the world where I made you, there will be chaos and hopelessness. There will be nothing that brings light out of the darkness like you have done.
What was with the Raven then? What was that all about? What was it?
During that moment, that was the devil taking over you. You were vulnerable after your loss of Lenore, who is in heaven.
So she was here after all.
Yes, and the bird speaking Nevermore was the devil's doing. You were continuing to hurt yourself to try to persuade this bird, which I am holding on to now, delivering it from evilness, and now giving up to you. I must now bring you back. If it wasn't for me, you would have already been dead. You will never be alone, this I promise to you. I love you, my son. Now I must ask you to repeat this. I trust you, Jesus. I need you, Jesus. I love you, Jesus.
I trust you, Jesus. I need you, Jesus. I love you, Jesus. I trust you, Jesus. I need you, Jesus. I love you, Jesus.
Nathan woke up seeing that he has gained consciousness. The first thing that appears to him is a glowing purple light shining in his face. He stared at it for a long time, realizing this was his companion. He saw as the Raven was watching him like his own guardian angel. Nathan stands up and then comes closer to the mask. Kneeling down, he brings it closer to his face, touching his forehead.
What shall I be called, Father?
Raven.